So you're welcome back to this part of this video. So in our previous video we learned how to use the React router and how to use hooks. So we learned how to use the useState hook, the useEffect, and the useRef, and we also learn how to use global hook like atom. Now we didn't do selector because I know that might be a little bit confusing at first, but like I told you, some of the things that you need your selector to do, you can use your custom hook to do them, because actually what the custom hook does is to extract your code logic so it can be reusable, and that is what your selector does too. The selector is used to derive a state from an atom. So why a selector can return just a single state, you can use a custom hook to return more than one state. Of course, destructure them if you need only one of it, but if you need all of it, you can do that. So just like in this our previous example here, so we are using in the books. So let's say I just want to use only the increase count, so I will not destructure this. Let's say I just want to use only this here, I will not destructure this. So by the time you understand how this use hook, creating your custom hook works, then you can learn the selector on your own. But for now I won't do that because there are some terms that it use, the logic might be quite confusing, so let's leave that for now. So in this class, what I want to focus on is React list. So how do we display a list in React? Where list items in an array such as number, string, object, array, example. So that is what lists are. So how do we display them in our React? So let's say I want to display a list of fruits or a list of books on my books component. So what I will do is to go to my project. So it's unfortunate that this one does not have any folders. So just to wrap that, so what I will do now, I will use blogs instead of that. So blog, so I'm going to create another one, blog.jsx. then we'll have our arrow AFCE. So just to add this to our routing system, so I'll go to my app.jss. so if I click on Shift Alt arrow down, so I'll have my books, so I have my blog, and so let's say I want my blog details, so this should be blog ID blog. So I'm using blog here also. So I want this to be my blog details, so I can have another one, so blog info, so I can use that. So blog info.jsx, so this will serve as my blog details, so arrow AFCE. So we'll use that, so that's why I'm creating that for now. So I've saved that. So the next thing is, right here will show me my blog. So let me insert these details to show me my blog. correct. So this other one will show me my blog info, correct. So I have that. So now you can save that. So the last thing I want to do is to add this to my navigation bar. So my nav bar. So I'll come to that point, add it here. So I can add it before my books, maybe as the first, add it as blog, then here blog. So if I go to the browser, I'm going to see this. So blog, books, this. So if I come here, I'll just see blogs, right? So we have the default settings. So let's say I want to display a list of blogs. So what I'm going to do, or what I normally do, is I'll create another file here, not a component now. We'll just call it blog data.jsx. Then I'm going to do export const blog data, then equal to an array of objects. So this object is going to have an ID of 1, then the topic, or let's say the title, is going to be, let's say, CSS. Then we can have author, I can put Chile. So let me just duplicate this. So shift alt arrow the 1, 2. So let's just make it simple. 2. So this should be my SAS. Author is, let me use John. Then 3, let's use Tailwind. I can use Amadi. Okay, so we have 3 blog items. So this can be a topic, then we can have the blog details if I want. So what I'm going to do here is to add a details page. I mean maybe some content. So I'll just add some content here. Content. Then I'll add a backtick space, backtick again space. So what I'll just need to do is to get some lorem. So I'll just have lorem 20. So alt Z. So I'll just cut that. Ctrl X. Save this. Come to my blogs data. So I'll just paste that here. So alt Z. So I have this content. So this is just a simple. This is just a sample of this. So just to make this different, I will say this is L and this is let's make this one arrow, and let's make this one K. So that when we are visiting the details, we know that it's different. Okay, so we have this. So how do I list this on React? So we'll use map. So So now from the slide we say map and rendering a list. So we are going to use map. So remember, we learned map as a higher array method in our JavaScript. So I'm going to use a title h2. I'll put latest blogs. Then inside here I want to like have a div wrap around those blogs. So we are using Tailwind, so just a class. Then now I want to dynamically render this block, so I have to import it. So it is usual for us to use this as a, so in case this is coming from a database, so I can have let log set blog. So let's just make it the standard way so that we don't have to repeat it. In our next week we'll learn how to call APIs. So this is the same principle. So use state, then I'm going to call blog data. So blog data, so this is an array object. So if this blog data is not coming from an offline mode, is coming from an online, I'm going to save this as what? No. Then in my use effect, I'm going to fetch it, then it will update. So that we'll do that in our next week class. So but for now, do this. So what I'm going to do now is to map this. So map, so blog dot map. So I can put here each. So for each blog, now instead of me to do my curly bracket and add a return, I'll use ESC standard. So I'll just put the brackets. That means an automatic return. So what I want to return now is this. I want to return a div. So inside this div, I want to return just the title and the author. So I want to return a h5. So each dot title, then a paragraph, each dot the author. So what I can put here is I put author like this. So if I save this and go to my browser, of course there's a mistake there. So I will see latest blog, CSS, the author is Chile, SAS, the author is John, Tailwind, the author is Hamadi. I have our footer. Now you notice React is running at this. So it's telling me that each child in a React list should have a unique key prop. So if you recall that in our blog data, I have, so let's go, in our blog data I have a unique key called ID. So ID1, ID2, ID3. So that is what React is telling us. We need to give them something unique so that when one of them changes, it knows how to update only that one instead of trying to update the entire DOM. So let's do that. So I'm going to add here, so in this return div, key each dot id. So that's, we fix that. So the error is still there, but if we refresh this page, notice the error is not there. Nice. So the next thing we want to do is to style this up a little. So let's use our Tailwind. So I'm going to use class, so flex items, IntelliSense is not working, items hyphen center then justify center, then the type flex should be colon. Remember, if you don't add this by default to be inline, and the gap should be by default, let's use 416. So let's do that and let's see how it looks like. So it looks like this. So I have my latest blocks, I have my title, and I have this. So what I will just do is to add a border around this. So add a class name. So the border looks like a shadow. So if I want, I can add a shadow. Then I can add margin. Bottom should be 3. So let's see how this looks like. So you notice there's a shadow here. Then I want the width. So the width should be 50%. Of course, there's no need to do margin auto because this justify center is already doing justice to that. So if I do that, I will have that. So that's width 50% is not working. So let me use 50 view width. So let me see if it will work. So that works. Nice. So the next thing that I want to do is to apply some padding. So padding, we can use a padding of y should be 8 pixel of x. So padding in the x direction should be 16 pixel. So if I do that, I will have something like this. So let's make it rounded a little. So we want this, we want the paragraph to be smaller. So class is too big. So class text should be SM, that is 12 pixels. So let's see how it looks like. So you see it has reduced a little. So if I want it to be smaller, means I'll use something like this, maybe 8 pixel. If I do that, so that will be smaller. So this is okay. So I have CSS this, I have SAS this, I have this. So you can add a rounded if you want. Rounded, just to make it round. So that's it. So the next thing we can learn is how to make a CSS hover. So you see we have this. So as we hover, you see nothing is changing. So how do we add a hover? I think I've forgotten that. My IntelliSense is not working, so I'm going to use this documentation. So the search, use your hover. So the search hover. So I think it's column hover. The classes, let me see that. So I just put the hover then column what I want. Okay, so that is it. So what I want to do here is the BG, of course, is white, but I'll put hover, then my BG page should be this is not design course, so we just use orange. $200. So if I save that, notice what will happen. So as I hover, it looks like this. Then I can also make it when I hover, the text will be white. So to do that, let's see if that works. So hover, text white. So if it doesn't work, we'll leave it like that, but I think you can play around with your tailwind, so you see it works. So but the text is not looking nice, so let's make that to be so I can use blue 500. So let's see how that looks like. Okay, still nice. Okay, so that is for that. So what I want to do now is we'll have this list now. So the next thing is if we click on this link, it should take us to the blog details page. So how do we do that? So we can add a click event here. So on click, and we'll add our anonymous function. So remember how we learned how to dynamically redirect without using the link tag. So we have let redirect as I normally save mine, then use navigate. So this is a method, so you invoke it as a function. So inside is our anonymous function. The next thing we'll do now is redirect. So remember the params pattern slash log slash, then we can have plus each dot id. So if you don't want to use this slash plus, you can use your template string, but for now this will do. So if I do this, notice what will happen. If I click here, it takes me to the blog info page. So you see. So the next thing that I want to do now is I want it to show me the blog to get the actual blog that I want. So we'll just leave that for the next class, but that is what we have done now. So use H key. So the last thing I want to do now is in my blog infos page, let's try to get the params. So so that's where we'll stop. So in our subsequent classes we're going to do some other stuff. So let's blog, remember that's what we use. So I'll destructure that blog equal to use params so I'll put blog info so I'll put a h2 so blog info for blog. So if I do that, you notice if I come to my React now, show me blog info for 1. So if I go back, blog info for 2. If I go back, blog info for 3. So this is what we need to do. So from here, you notice we have learned how to add list to our React. So let's stop here for now, so that we'll not go too deep, but this is where we'll stop. So this is how it looks like. So you see how we use the listing. Now, benefit of using list. Now with that list, you notice that I would have had, so let's go to our blog page. I would have had this line of code here displayed into 2 more times. So I'll have this into 2 more times. So just like we are doing this repetition in our nav here, so let's go to our nav. We will have this and this. That's how we would have done this repetition. But you see, because we are using list now, we just have this only once. Now the beauty about this is that even though I have 20 blocks here to show, I will still use the same markup. So where is it? I'll still use the same markup. So you see that using list helps us to do what? Minimize the way we write our markup. So that is why it's important. And if I want to add a new blog item, if I'm using list, I'll just go to this array here and add another one. So let me add another one now. So I'll add another one 4. So that shows you the benefit 4. So remember, if you don't change the ID, you have an error. So I'll use let's say bootstrap. How did they spell that? Bootstrap. Bootstrap. Then this one will be by do. So if I save this now, you notice if I come back here, I'll have 4. I see. Still the same markup, but see how efficient it is. So that is one of the advantage of using list. It makes you to write just a single HTML that produces multiple outputs. That is dynamic also. Okay, so we are done with our list. So the next thing I want to learn here is the React forms. Now in this React forms, we are going to learn how to create a simple login page, then add an event listener to get the items that the user fills. Then we are going to prevent the default behavior, then collect user info using state. Then this form data, we will use it when we want to send it to a backend API. So since we're not working with that now, I will show you just how to do that, but this will not, how to prepare that, but we'll not use that, but there's still no need for that. So I'll just show you how to get this state. But by the time we start working with APIs, then we can use that. So let's continue. Creating a login form. So let's learn how to work with forms using our React. So let's create another one here, which is the login. So we are going to repeat the same process. So I'll come to I'll create a component called login. So of course I want it to be simple. So I think go to component called login. So inside this my login, I'll have a component login.jsx. Then of course I'll have my ROFCE. So let's leave it at this. Then we'll go to our app.js, add a route there. So of course do that. So shift alt arrow down. Then of course I'll change this to just login. Then this should load me my login component. Login, so it has imported from my component, so I hit enter. So I'll save. The next thing is to add it to my navbar, so I will just add it as the last part here before the cat stuff. So login, then here should be login. So if I do that, everything is connected, so there should be no error. So I have login, so welcome to the login page. So the next thing now, we'll just create a simple form just like we do in our HTML. So what I will do is to go to my login, then inside this login, so I have a H2. I'll say please login, then I'll have my form. So instead of this action, I'm going to use something else, the React way or the JavaScript way. So I have the field set. Remember, the field set is used to group related items. So the next thing I have to do is my label. So inside my label, I will have my email. So I want the person's email. Tab email. Then I want the input, so the type is email, so this will do some front-end validation for me. Then email tab, missed that, email. Then let's have a placeholder, so placeholder example, just put example at gmail.com. So what's that to break that? So all I need to do is to duplicate this. So I have my password, shift alt arrow down. So change all of this email to password. So hold your alt, change this to password. Then this does not require, okay, so I'll just put use strong password. So use alphanumeric. I just say should be alphanumeric. So an alphanumeric password is very hard to guess. So if we have that, so I'll have this and I'll have this. So let this be at the center. So again, I'm going to flex this. So class name. So you see that by default there are some things that the tailwind removes for you. So just a moment of my environment. So there are some things that tailwinds removes for you. So let's continue. So flex items should be center, then justify, justify center, then flex, type of flex should be column, and the gap should be 4. So if I do that, we have something like this. So I have please log in, and I have this. So I also want this to break so that it will be on a new line. So what I will just do is to copy this code, and this is not, this should be minus. So I'll copy this line of code, class, all of it, Ctrl C. Then inside my feed set here, for my auth, here, space, paste. So next I want to change the flex direction from column to what? Okay, it should be column. Then the gap should not be 4, should be 2. That is 8 pixels. So if I do that, I'll have something like this now. But I don't want it. Don't want the email to be at the center. I want it to be at the start. So I'm going to put justify I'm going to put justify items should be start, not center. So minus start. So if I do that, I'll have this. Now because it's column, I have to also do that for the items. So this should be start to justify item start. So I'll have this. So if I click here, I have this. Click here, I have this. So this placeholder enables the user to know that this, I forgot to change this to be password. So I'll change that to the password. So if I do that, I will have this. So I have my email, I have my password. Now notice, because I'm using password, I have this. So you notice it's too close, so let's give that some padding. So I have, so the same thing, class name, so class name. So I have my padding. So I just use my px should be 3. That will be 12 pixels. So if I do that, I'll have something like this. So you see, as I type, it's beginning from here. That is beginning from here. Okay. So that is for that. So if you want to add a border to the inputs, just to make it, so add border, then border -1. So this will add a default border to that, so the user can see that there is a border there. Then when you click, it has this. Okay, so let's leave it at that. So the next thing now is I want to put a submit button. So remember, in a form you can put button, then put login, then of course as part of the HTML I can put type should be submit. So if I do this, this is what I'll have. So I'll have this button of type submit. So if I click this, notice it will show me that this is not in the right email format. So because of I use type email, so let me use my normal email. So I'm at this, so let me just use one. If I attempt to submit this, notice it tries to refresh the page. So in order to stop that from happening, what we need to do is this. We need to, inside this form, we use the event listener. So on submit, then I'll use my anonymous function passing my e, then I'll use handle submit, then I'll pass in my event object. So let's create that function here. So function handle submit, I pass in my event object, and I call that here. So I can, just like we do in our vanilla JavaScript, so e dot prevent default. So I hope the spelling is correct. So if I do that now, Alt Z, okay. So if I do that, if I type this, just type in rubbish here, and I click what? Send, notice it does not refresh. So that means it's working. So the next thing that I want to do now is, when I submit this, I want to see the output here. So let's assume I want to send this to a backend API. So how do I extract this details that the user have added? So what we can do there for this our login button is, when we hover, the text should change to green. So class, so I want to add a border of 1, then border, the color should be what? Okay, it should just be the number 1. Then the width should be fit, so it should not be too long. Then let's add a padding. So P should be 2 pixel, that is 2, that is 8 pixel. Then rounded, so let's see how it looks like. So we have something like this. It's not looking quite nice. So let's make the PY, so this should be the PX. Then the PY should be 1, and the text should be a little bit smaller, which is, let's use 10 pixels. So let's see how that looks like. So it looks nice, right? So the next thing that we want to do now is, each time we hover, so if I hover, I want the biggie to be green 500, then the text, so once you hover to, so the text should be white. So if I do that, let's see how it looks like. So by default the biggie should be white, so biggie should be transparent, which is white. So let's see. So if I hover, the biggie should be green. Over biggie, is this space? Let's see. Okay, so even a space in the table in the word can cause an error. So we do this now, you notice how it's working. So the next thing I want to do now is to get those states. So remember, we've learned how to use hooks, so we can use hooks now. So what I can do now is let email set email then be equal to use state. So as many field input you want to take, that's how you have it. So I'll have it as an empty string because the user has not typed anything. So shift alt arrow down. So I'll change this to password, then set password. So the password is an empty string. Nice. So the next step now is for us to add an event listener to this input. So what I will do now is on change, so not on click now, on change, I have my anonymous function. So I'll have set email should be equals to e dot target dot value. So this is just, we are familiar with this from our React, from our JavaScript. Then the value should be email. So that way, immediately the user finished typing, we are getting the email in real time. So I'll just copy the whole of this. So this E here has to, what it does is to get this input, then the value it will get, then this e dot target will get this input, then the value it will get the value that the user typed. So let me copy the whole of this, Ctrl C, I come to my password, do Ctrl V. I think I've pasted more than what I should paste, or I did not complete completely, so Ctrl C. So there was an error on the first copy, so I do that. So in order for when you are working with your, so let me go back, when you are working with your input, in order for it to look nicely, you always break them to a new line, so that way it's easier for you to write and debug. So the class on should come to a new line, so that way I have my value and my unchange, then the ID placeholder should come to a new line. So this way it's easier for me, then the type to come to a new line, the image should come to a new line. Then sometimes when you save and you format with your prettier, you can do that automatically for you. So let me format with prettier, and you see it has done that for me automatically. So the next thing I want to do now is to copy these two lines just like I did before. So it's now easier for us to interact or to work with. So I'll paste here, then I'll change here to password, then I'll change here to what, set password. So just a moment, let me clear my nose. So now we have that. So when we submit the form, so let's do it gradually. I put a message, so console.log, let's put form submitted for now. So if I fill the form, so I fill my email, I fill my password, I type in this and I click here, you see form submitted. If I click again, it does that. So instead of this form submitted, I want to see my data. So what I need to do is I'll just put inside an object here a comma, then I'll put email. Remember, this is ES6, then password. So if I do that, notice if I press login, I see form submitted. If I go down, I see my email, I see my password. So if I change this to Amadichile 007, notice I've made a change. So if I submit now, notice the new data comes with the updated version, not the previous version. So this is how we work with forms. So if I want to send this to a backend API, so I can just put let object. So just put inside a variable called object, then equal to, I paste in these two things here. So I'll do Ctrl X and put obj and paste. So it's still the same thing. So if I go to my browser, I'll still see the same output. So if I change this to 005 and send, you see the same 005 here. So now what if I want to do this using the form data? So if I want to do this using the form data, I will use that like so. So if you're using it, the form data is used to send a form to the backend, some form data to the backend, actually when it has to do with an input. Let's say you want to read from a file, maybe the person selects a file, or all this that has to do with yes, just like a file, like to select a file to be uploaded, an image, a video. So but if you just text, you can use this object format and it will work. So let me just show you how to do that. So if I want to use the form data, I'm going to use let form data be equal to new. So this is a class form data, like so, and I'm going to invoke this. So what I will now do next now is now say form data dot append, then I'll put my email, then I'll put email. So let's continue with the last one. So that is how easy it is to use the form data. It's not actually difficult. So the next thing here, I'll put my password, and I'll put password. Now instead of me to send this object here, I'm going to send form data. So let's see if you're going to get anything from the output. So if I click on send, notice I'm getting an empty object. but it's actually there. But to see it, we'll use something else called, so I do Control X. I'll use JSON dot stringify. Then I'll use my form data. So if I do that, that is when I will see the items of the form data. So let's see if that works. So if I send, notice I'm still not seeing that. But this is this still didn't work. So it's actually there, but for front end it doesn't show the data, but in the back end this will work. If I'm sending this to the back end, this will work, but for front end it doesn't work. So that is it for the form data. So the next thing I want to show us before we close this video is how to use Yup and formik to validate our form in real time without the user without going to the back end, then only to find out that the data is not in the right format, then I return an error message. So we are going to use Yup and formik to actually do a nice form, so that if I type and there's an error, it's going to show me that okay, this email is not in the right format, instead of this one here, which if I try to send, that's when it to show me this error. Now if I put this at here, and let me see if I don't put dot, notice it attempts to send, but this is not in the right email. So with that Yup and formik, you can actually handle some of this stuff. Then let's say you want a strong password, you can actually do that. You can actually do it without the Yup and formik, but it just makes it easier for you. So let's do that. So to unplug this. So Yup. First of all, I'll use formik. So formik documentation. So let's look at the formik. Google Forms insert without TS. So that's what we want to do. So get started. So this is the get started. Let's look at the installation. So to install, you just type this npm install formik. So I'll copy that, go to my VS Code and install that. So I'm going to right click and paste. So I'll hit enter. So while it is installing, let's look at the documentation. So for a simple formik file, I can have this. So notice I just have a formik, so I have to import this formik, then validate initial value. So values.this else email is required, that's invalid, JSON does stringify this. So this is meant to work, but this didn't work. Okay, so let's see the one I will use is the one that has the yup and formik. So let's go down. So let's install yup. So by now the first one should have installed, so I will install the next one, which is my yup. Hit enter. So I don't want this to take time, so let's go down. I've used it before. So let's look at validation. So let's say I want to validate using yup and formik. So what I will just do is I have a sign up schema or a login schema, or just put my schema. Then for now I'll use my email and password. Then I can decide the minimum number, the maximum is required. Then I can have my email. So this is how easy it is. So this is the sign up form. So that is so you can manually take a validation just like that. So let me use the first one, which is this. So I have my validation schema. Validate email. So this is invalid email address. So validate username. Field validation example. So I can use this validate. So I'm seeing a different example from the one so if you don't want to use the yup, you can use the validate. That's when you use this text and yup, invalid email address. So let me go up. So I like to use this one. So first name, okay. Okay, so let's begin. So this is the one I want to use. So the first thing I want to do is to copy the whole of this. So from here to the top. So from here to the top, so I'll do Ctrl+C and go to my login page. So it has finished installing, so I can close this. So I can import this here. So for this our example, I just have the email and password, so I need to clear this. then this should be my password. Then it should be string. Then there's something else we need to type. After now, so let's leave that for now. So the next thing that I want to copy from the documentation is want to copy so we have so many things to copy here. So it's not my intention to make it confusing. So what I'm going to do is, let's make this our sign up. So that's what I will do now. So let's make this our sign up. So let's create a sign up page. So sign up. Oh, I've made a mistake. This should come out to my component. So move out. So that is outside now. So here is my sign up. So my sign up is here. So let me create the sign up. Sign up.jsx. So what I'm going to do now is to just copy the entire example from here and edit it to fit the way I want. So I just have the copy here. So go to my sign up page, to Ctrl V, then I'll change this to not that. Okay, yes, sign up. So I have the first name, I have the last name, I have the email, and what I need to add is the password. So come here, I'll add the password. So let's say this is our sign up. So the password. Then we'll add some other stuff later. So let me remove this. We want it to be strong password. Then we need to add our password here. Password. Then the initial value should also be an empty quote. So when we submit the form, we are going to see the values just like we did in our previous example. So this other one, so after the email, I want the password. So I'm going to put name is password, and the type is what? The type is password. So I've made a mistake there. I shouldn't have copied that. So you notice this field has an email. So let's see how this looks like first, so that will aid in our understanding of what I'm editing. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go to, let's add this to our nav bar. So I'll add this login. So I'll add, this is the sign up. Sign up. So we've added that. So the next thing is to go to our app.js and add that to our route. So this will be my sign up, and it should call my sign up component here. if I automatically import that. Nice. So if I save, I have that. So if I go to my browser, so just a default save, let's see what we have. So hoping that we don't have an error. So let's go to our sign up. So in our sign up, this is throwing an error, so let's see why. So let's go to our page. So wrong spelling, sign up. So we have this sign up, and I have this, I have this. So let's just quickly add our styling from the sign up, from the login page, so that it will be in block. So from this login page, I'll just copy some basic styling. So I'll copy all of this, Ctrl C. I'll go to my sign up and also add that. So class, I copied everything, so let me just paste. Then there should be a space here. Nice. So let's see how that looks like. So it looks like this now. So it would be nice to add a border, right? So let's add that border. So let's see what we did in our login. So for our login, for each of the inputs, I have this class, Ctrl C. So let's do that to our sign up. So I have my cursor here, I have it here, I have it here. So let's place it and do Ctrl V. So if I save that, let's see what we have. So I think we have this now. Nice. So just to help the user know what the person is typing, I think we can add a placeholder. 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 So I can put label here first, label, to see if that will show. Okay, it shows. So for this, so I'm going to format this with my prettier site. It's going to break it for me. Nice. So this is going to be my first name, then this is going to be my last name, then this is going to be my email. So now we have this basic styling. So we have this. So when the user start typing, that will disappear. Then you see. So in real-time validation, so if I attempt to submit, it shows me this required. So if I put in an email, see it is gone, and if I press on this submit, I receive this. So you see how formulas make it very easy. So the next thing I want to do now is to add the password. So let's add the password. So you notice if I refresh this page now, if I refresh this page and I attempt to submit the forms, it show me this required. Now this is nice. So what if I want the first name to be a minimum of 2? So let's play around with this first. So yes, it's a minimum of 2, so it's too short, it's too long, so it's already there. So let me just type A, and you see it's telling me it's too short. So this does not have to go to the back end before it to know that it's too short, so it's just in real time. Then if I type AC, see, it has worked. So I'm going to change it. The minimum should be 3 because it's hardly okay, because it's not a full name, so it's correct. So the 2 is correct. The maximum is 50. Then else is required. So we want to add the email. So we already have had the email. So let's look at that. So let's play around with the email stuff. So the email, I have this. So what if I remove this? So you see it also allows me to submit. So you can also, from what we'll do next, we can also validate that if you want, but I just want to keep the tutorial very simple. So the next thing I want to show you is how to add strong password. So how do you force a user to use strong password? So that is the last thing we want to do now. So I'll go to this page, so I'll copy from this field to this now and do shift alt arrow down. So I'm going to change this place to password. So let me say should use strong password. Then I'll change the name. So anywhere I see email, I'll change it to password. Should be password. So you see that here I don't have to use my use state to get the data. Formik is doing all those things for me under the hood. So if I do that, I have my strong password. So now if I type something and notice I type this, so you see I can see submit the form, but this is not a strong password, it's not alphanumeric. So the last thing I want to show you is how to ensure strong password using Yop validation. So if I do that, take me to this Stack Overflow. So formik Yop strong password validation. So just scroll down. I've used this before. So all I need to do is this. I can copy. So after my required password, present their password, I can just copy from this match here and enter. But there's a one I like. That one is, it broke it down. So it's this one. So after the required two, I can just copy all of this. So Ctrl C. So I'll go to my sign up. So after this, my some password, I put dots required, and I'll put please enter your password. Then after this dots, I paste everything. So there's a dot here, so I'm just going to remove that, so I can put enter. So this one will ensure that must contain one lowercase must contain one uppercase, must contain one number, must contain one special character. So there seems to be an error. Okay, I have a double comma here. So that has worked. So let's try that. So you see how it is easy for you to use React. It's all about using packages. So if I try to send this now, you see must contain one uppercase. So I'm gonna put uppercase here. U. So must contain one number. So I'll put a number. So must contain one special character. I'll put @. So you see now if I submit, you see my strong password. See, that's nice. So the last thing that we can do now is to style our error. So let's say I remove this one. You notice the error text is too big. So let's make it smaller and red. So what I'm going to do now is to come here inside this my error div. So I'll have a class text should be red 500, then the text should be about 8 pixel, then the margin top should be, so there should be no margin top. So if I do this, for example, notice what I will have, but you see this margin that is here is due to the gap I added for each of them. So what I'm going to do now is to remove that gap from the parent form, which is this, and instead I will now add a margin button on each of these. So MB bottom of 4 if I want, or now let me use 2. So if I do that, notice how it will look like. It will look a little bit like this. So I have margin, so let me make that 3. So it's good to understand the import of each line of code. So MB3. So what I'm going to do now is to copy this line code, this one, Ctrl C. So I'll paste it in the next one. Okay, here's my div. Then of course don't forget to add your margin button, MB of 3. Then here I have my MB of 3. So here I have my MB of 3. So we have for the first name, we have for the last name. We don't have for the email. So let's do that. However, MB of 3. So let's save and let's refresh the page. So if I refresh the page, and attempt to submit, you notice I will have this required, but there's no required for the password. So let's find out why that is not working. So because I have not added that, so MB of 3. So what said, so password. So let's see if we have a password. So let's save. So if I do that, I'll have this password. Please enter your password. So it's whatever you put on in your required, that's what you should do. So if I put in my first name, Amadi, so that has worked. So it has accepted that. Then now you notice now that it has accepted this, it looks like it's too close. So what I will just do is to add from this form, I'll just put a gap of 2. Let's see how that looks like. Okay, that is better, but only is affecting this one now because it's general. So but that is okay. So we'll add this, should be Chile, then this should be this should be, so if I type anything I want to type, so you see must contain uppercase, so I put uppercase U, must contain number, I put 22, must contain special character, I put hash, and that has worked. So if I send, you notice I have this. So this is how we use our YOP and formik. Remember, you can study the documentation and that was part of the development process, but you see the feel that our YOP and formik helps us to do with our forms. It looks nice. So if you want your backend to have a strong password, then this should work. Of course, you can do this without using your YOP and formik, but just like the documentation said, you can use it to do this with lightning speed. You don't have to be the one to write the logic. In fact, you can even find the logic online and just paste it, so far as you understand what you're pasting and why you're pasting it. So that will work. So this is how we call it a day. So I would like you to practice what we've learned so far. So in our subsequent classes, I'm going to show you some of the things in the next slide, which is other forms. So we've learned about YOP and formik. So we'll learn about React icons. In case you're not starting with a Figma design, React Toastify, then Bootstrap Alert or Modal, or we can use Material UI, anyone. So this is what we are going to add to our next week class. So thank you very much. See you in the next video.